Thank you all so much for tuning in today. I am honored to be given this opportunity to share with you my hands-on experience with autism. But before we get started, if you are new here, I'd like to give a brief introduction about myself. So my name is Venmo Wehrli, and I am an individual diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Short definition for autism is that it is a developmental disorder that affects how a person communicates. And that can greatly interfere with socializing, processing information, responding, and behaving. There are many in-depth examples as to how autism affects a human being, which I will get into, but I was suspected at 18 months old. The way that my mother suspected was based on my automatic impulses, like doing the same thing over and over again in the same exact order every day, or not responding to when my name was called, or a loss of speech. So that's when she decided to take me in for early evaluation. I was officially diagnosed with autism at the age of 4. Now, you would think that a group of professionals who specialized in special needs would have been supportive. However, they instead told my mother that I would never be independent or that I would ever graduate from school. Growing up with autism was a struggle for me. Many people still to this day are not used to someone different. Now, people may be aware that everybody is different, but what I'm referring to is a type of difference that people never thought to see from someone else. Kind of like an alien from another planet that's trying to fit in with this world. You see, people fear what they don't understand, and they respond to that fear by being bitter. And I unfortunately was a victim of that. I was bullied, I was singled out, discriminated against. I've had people lose their patience with me. I've been called names like gay or stupid. Experiencing that is the reason why I'm building a platform where I am raising awareness on autism, because I don't want families to have to go through the same trouble that my mom and I went through. Now that I got that backstory about me out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right into the topic. But before we do that, if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any more latest features or updates from me. So what is autism? I've already stated that autism is a developmental disorder that primarily affects a person's ability to communicate. But there is so much more to it than just that. I want to start off by telling you what to not think when you hear the word autism. First, don't immediately think of Rain Man when you hear the word autism or other shows like The Good Doctor or Atypical. While those programs represent a person with autism, they fail to inform people that everybody with autism is not going to be the same exact person. Now, just because I have autism doesn't mean I'm going to be exactly like Dustin Hoffman in the movie Rain Man or Freddie Highmore in The Good Doctor. Autism is also not a 5-year-old kid who's running around screaming, flapping his hands around, and throwing temper tantrums. That is another example of what people picture by default when they hear the word autism. Some people think that just because they had a bad experience with an autistic individual, that they are going to have the same exact experience. See, autism is not a pack or a collective mind. It is a spectrum. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what a spectrum is a wide range of things, almost like a rainbow. A rainbow has lines of similar shapes, but are different in size, colors, and visibility. And that's the same with autism. People with autism may be similar in many ways, but there are some people with autism that are nonverbal or who have low motor skills. There's also adults on the spectrum that can behave like a 5-year-old. Now that I've explained what autism is not, I want to go ahead and explain what it is. And bear in mind that this is based on my own personal experiences. I don't want you to take this as the official underlying definition, because there may be some things I'm wrong about, and everybody is going to have different views on what autism is. The way I picture autism is like planting a tree right beneath a boulder. That tree is going to have a really hard time growing normally because of something that is blocking its path and cutting off what it needs to nurture itself, while there are other trees that were planted with plenty of space and sunshine. Now that I've talked about what autism is, I want to address how autism can affect people from different age groups. Remember that I said that autism is a spectrum, meaning every person with autism is going to be different. However, age does not exactly define a person's functioning level of autism. There can be a child with high functioning autism, and there can be an adult with low functioning autism. And what I mean by high functioning is people with autism that exhibit behaviors and characteristics similar to a typical person, but with character defects. Whereas a person with low functioning autism has more severe challenges. If you were to work with a group of individuals on the spectrum and have them perform the same task, all but one may be able to perform that task. And that's where you have to avoid putting them on the spot. See, there have been many instances where I've had to tell supervisors that I have certain struggles due to being autistic. And they would respond by saying something like, well, we've had other people on the spectrum work under us and they did just fine. See, autism is not a one-size-fits-all. Putting autism aside, you also have to understand that everybody comes from a different background. You could be working with an autistic individual with great parents and one with abusive parents. Or you could be working with an autistic individual that comes from a high-class family and one that comes from a family that's living in poverty. Even if you are working with people that come from a similar background, it's important to bear in mind that everybody handles things differently. See, I've often explained to people that I'm going through a certain issue and they responded with, I've gone through that and you don't see me behaving this way. A lot of people like to compare their issues to others. Some will say they've had it worse than others. Whatever the case may be for any individual you work with, it's important that you develop a sense of compassion, empathy, and patience. Now earlier I used an example of how a tree grows out of place when it's not planted properly. Just because something did not properly grow doesn't mean all is lost for them. You can help an autistic individual get back on track. You may not be able to get them to match other typical people, but you can help them function in their own unique ways. And that is what I would like to move on to, is how you can connect with individuals on the spectrum and how you can work with them. First, I would recommend that you gain the trust of the parent or the guardian. Many autism parents go through so many setbacks because not only is parenting new to them, but autism is new to them as well. Some parents feel relieved when they receive the autism diagnosis because now they know what is going on with their child and they now know what they need to do to help them. Other parents go through a grieving stage. Many times when a parent is expecting, they have this perfect future all planned out for their child. And when they receive the official autism diagnosis, their hopes and dreams are shattered and it's a devastating effect on them. Many autism parents, like my mother, have been stabbed in the back by professionals specialized in this field. And we need to assure them that they will not experience the same thing from us. And it's going to take more than just words to gain their trust. One thing that is also important to bear in mind is that oftentimes people are not willing to do the work needed to make something happen. They just hope that things will happen by some miracle or magic words that will solve all their problems. And it doesn't work that way. You can give people words of advice and encouragement, but they need to do the work. They need to be made aware that change is not going to happen overnight, or the next night, or the night after. It takes consistency. Some individuals may take longer than others to make changes or progress. There are also going to probably be instances where people will fall off of track and they need to be redirected back on track. Now next is gaining the trust of an autistic individual themselves. Many people don't like to be treated like they're special. It can be really embarrassing to be publicly called out for the errors you've made, or be pulled away from your current session to something else, because that can make them feel like they're being put on the spot or feel like they're being singled out, or it can make them feel like you're telling them that they're just not good enough. You need to assure them that you see great potential in them and that you want to help them reach that potential. And if they can, they're going to come out a lot better than their peers. You also have to convince them that you don't see them any different than you do with others. Yes, you'll have to treat them differently and make different changes to help them. But your attitude is what matters. If they struggle, don't express your frustration with them like, "I've told you this so many times. Why is it not making sense to you?" Or, "A person your age should know this already." You'll do much better with positive reinforcement. Show them that you're proud of them for trying and for making progress. Now bear in mind though that there is a huge difference between rewarding and bribing. If you keep giving them treats or rewards for doing something, then chances are they're going to develop the thought that they won't cooperate unless if you give them what they want. Now, what are some good teaching strategies to help an autistic individual? Well, I would highly encourage you to make use of visuals. Now, myself being autistic, so many times I have had a lot of things going on in my mind. I can easily be distracted or my mind can fall off of course. So seeing a visual representation is a good way to set my mind back to the task. And a good example would be modeling. Seeing someone perform the task that you want them to do might help them have a better understanding of how it's done. Talking them through the task is also another great way. Oftentimes people learn better with hands-on experience. If you can also find a way to incorporate some of their interests into the lesson or the task, then there's a better chance that they will perform the task well. You'll also want to stick to the same routine because people with autism are not as adaptive to change as typical people are. If you need to change something, let them know ahead of time and guide them through the change rather than just doing it unexpectedly. It's also important to respect their sensory stimuli. A person with autism may be sensitive to touches or smells, textures or noises, or may be easily overwhelmed. So don't force them to cooperate with something that they're uncomfortable with. If they need to take a brain break, don't tell them to buck it up and get it done. Sometimes you may have to change your teaching style. See, doing the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. If they're having a bad day, it may be hard for them to explain why because of their struggles with communication. You can try asking them questions, but if they can't answer the first few questions, you may want to just stop there and do some other investigating. Trying to dig deep in their minds can be stressful and overwhelming. You can ask others if they have noticed anything going on or observe the autistic individual on a day and see if you can pick up on anything. Or just give them time to find the right words to generate in their mind so that they can speak them. So just to recap everything that I went through, I stated that autism is a developmental disorder that affects an individual's way of communicating, socializing, and learning. That doesn't mean that every single person who has autism is going to be the same exact person, or have the same exact struggles or behavior, or that they are by default like the autistic characters you see portrayed on television. Many people with autism come from different backgrounds, so different approaches will need to be made. Some may be high or low functioning, and that does not depend on their age. Their trust needs to be earned as well as the parents or guardians. You have to be patient, consistent, empathetic, and compassionate. You also have to be consistent and realize that there are no magic words or solutions to make things better. Now, if you guys have made it to the end of this video, I applaud you. And I hope that what I presented to you is insightful. If there's anything that I missed or any questions on what I touched on that you need clarification on, by all means, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will do my best to get back to you. And if you haven't already, please be sure to hit that like button on this video, and be sure to also subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any latest updates from me. Thank you all so much for watching this, and I hope to see you all in the next video.